My definition of motivation is to get people to do what you want them to do because it's in their best interest, versus manipulation is to get people to do what you want them to do because it's in your best interest. And I say that to say I agree very much with Sam, is that ability to let students understand that connection between what's in their best interest as relates to their life, their economics, the story behind that. That motivation is, you can't force that on somebody. It has to come from within. And only when they connect that benefits them, because that's the way we all operate, then that's how they get motivated. So the challenge there is for us to really make that connection with our students to understand the benefit of that. Otherwise, I don't care what you do. You cannot force the horse to the trough. That just won't happen otherwise.
I just add one other thing. When we talk about motivation, too, I think that the other piece of that is, and I'm the new guy in the room, so I'm still learning all this, but when you look at how a student learns and what their motivation is, how they're motivated, I mean, I know when I started school, how I was given my curriculum was very different than what I needed, and how I learned how to learn better when I got to be a senior and did all independent study. And right now we're trying to still stuff students all into the same model in every grade to get that information, and that doesn't work. I see my almost 5-year-old who learns a much different way than I did. I mean, he can already use the computer, and so when I'll read about what they're doing in some European school systems where you have 3 kids all in the 6th grade and they're going to the same building every day, but one's going over to the traditional classroom because they learn well that way. The other one's going into almost a Montessori type atmosphere because that works for them. And the other kid's going over here to more of an online delivery system. Kids are going to want to get that information in different ways. I commend our universities with all the programming that they're doing now online and giving students the different opportunities to get there. But I think that's got to be part of the discussion on motivation, is how do these kids learn, how do they want to learn, how can we deliver the system how they want to, not just how we want to do it and how we've been doing it for all these years.
I just wanted to add briefly that I totally agree. The online, there's huge potential there, and it gets back to some of Will's comments in terms of restructuring delivery and how we think about instruction and motivating in different ways. Would add that I think the links to the business community are huge, because in terms of motivation and relevance, when you see why you're learning particular things, motivation kicks up. It's true at K-12 and it's true at post-secondary. And then finally, would just certainly again commend the governor and the legislature for the hope and the changes in hope. While pieces of that are really painful, there are really incentives, I think, to help motivate students to finish in 4 years, which, you know, the reality for some students is that staying around for a 6th year isn't a half bad idea. And so, you know, that notion of time to degree also links with how do you motivate students to finish on time and to complete on time. So there are lots of levers there that can be used, all of which I think are very important.
Hi, I'm Jill. I'm with KIP, and I've been with KIP now about 10 years. I have a comment and then maybe a challenge. This next month, our first class of kids that started in Atlanta in 2003 are graduating. And this kind of goes to Dean's point and the motivation point. When those students came to us in 2003, they were, all of them, performing at the bottom quartile of the ITBS test. We ITBS test our kids every single year. They left us in 8th grade 4 years later at the top quartile. 96% of them will graduate in May. We had a kid yesterday receive a Gates Millennium Scholarship. 1,000 out of 23,000 applicants. He is choosing to go to Georgia Tech. I guess we're very excited. We have a student who is at Grady High School who is receiving a full scholarship to Clark Atlanta plus a $20,000 Dell scholarship. So we're very excited about the results that we've been able to achieve. But our mission at KIP is to and through college. So speaking to the culture point, when our students come to us the first day of class in the summer, they start school in July, they learn the year they will graduate and go on to college. We start with the end in mind. And to that point, we track our students, not the ones that will leave us this summer and go on to college, but the kids that were with us in the 8th grade. KIP is about to release a national report tracking these graduation rates. So my challenge, I guess, is it's great to track completion now in college, but we also have to back it up. And because KIPP started it as a 5th grade program, our data right now is the kids that were with us in the 8th grade. But we will eventually track here in Atlanta at K. We're about to apply for charters with Atlanta Public Schools for elementary, and we'll open our first high school this summer. But for the motivation piece, we take our kids on out-of-state field trips every year. We show them colleges, we show them our nation's capital, different things like that. There was a report a couple weeks ago from Western Michigan University that claims KIPP is spending more money. We do not spend more money to get the same results. They didn't back out capital expenses, which we do not get capital money. So we're spending less money than the school systems here in the metro area, getting some better results. So we believe there's no excuse. So for the culture piece, you can change fundamentally what you're doing. Our kids go to school from 7:30 to 5 every single day of the week. It's just a mindset. I guess that's my comment.
I just have 2 comments to make. I was sitting here trying not to say anything, but I just cannot leave without saying something. We have 2 major problems in preparing excellent teachers. First, it has been documented that students with the lowest GPAs in high school choose teaching when they come to college. They do that because they think it's easy. They think that's the easy major. Well, at Fort Valley State University, it's not the easy major, and it shouldn't be anywhere. We do screen students very carefully. Some people say it's not fair, but I am determined not to put anybody in a classroom who's not competent. And we can't do that. We have athletes, and no offense to athletes in the room. We have athletes who claim they want to be teachers, and they don't do well. Some of them don't do well, and people ask you to change their grades. Well, we don't change grades. But in some schools, they are forced by the administration to change their grades so they can graduate. These people should not be in the classroom. So if you want to have a good pipeline, you have to put good teachers, first of all, in every grade level in the public school system. So your students can learn, they will be motivated. These people will know how to do that. My next comment is college professors. I don't know how to describe some college professors, because they do, and I'm generalizing now. The ones that I've worked with don't call themselves teachers. They call themselves mathematicians, historians, biologists, and all of that. So I'm thinking, if you're standing up in front of a room full of people and you are teaching them, aren't you a teacher? They don't think they are. I have made a recommendation to PSC, and I know it's not going anywhere, but I think college professors should have a level of certification before they walk into a classroom to teach. I think they would be much better teachers. So we need better teachers on the college level. We need better teachers in the public school systems.
I think I finally found a recommendation that may not go anyplace, but I agree with it. Wow. All right, I think we have time for one more, maybe. She said 0.
Maybe I should just yield if we're out of time. I was going to put Lynn on the spot. I can do that afterwards.
You want to be on the spot then?
I'll take it.
Well, so I'm a recovering dean. And I'm curious. I mean, Will made an important comment about the need for structural change in delivery on the higher education side. And what I know about the culture of higher ed, speaking of culture, is that that's a very complicated thing to make happen. I'm curious, Lynn, if the states thought very much about the kind of incentives and rewards that might accelerate the rate at which new delivery forms come to exist, incentives that might get and change the behavior of faculty so that they're more inclined to adapt to who the students are rather than the other way around.
Thank you, Dr. McGuire. It is a great question. And indeed, I think the culture of higher ed is a challenge to change. However, I can't resist pointing to the very area that we're sitting on in terms of the campus, near a campus, Georgia State, that has shown remarkable change in structures. And kudos to a lot of the faculty and leadership there for fundamentally changing a lot of the way things get done. Dean's example of how calling people. I mean, I know that's not structural, but it's an indication of how the sea winds are changing in terms of how to do this work. Your point is extremely well taken because it will not happen overnight. And there are, higher ed historically has shown a great resistance to change. And there are people that sort of, sometimes would brag about that. But I think what you're hearing today is that we are very much aware that there is the need. State leadership is aware. And so I think when the conversation becomes what's really important for the state and the students we serve, that the kinds of, that question will drive the structural changes that need to happen. So I don't think those changes are going to happen on their own, but if it's around what has to happen to drive student success, then the really committed people that exist in all of these systems, I think, will get around that conversation and do what needs to happen with the support of policymakers.
Thank you, Lynn. And I've just come back to Dean's closing comment. Culture, priority, commitment. And that's what we really need. I want to thank the panel and all of you out there. Thank you very much. Steve?
Thank you very much. Good job, David. And panel members, thank you very much.